Withstand Survival is an upcoming survival game built around the community and its feedback. In this video, we will be covering the recent Withstand Survival updates. If you missed our last video covering Withstand Survival's first look, be sure to go check that out now. Hey guys, I'm Obi.
And I'm Sobi. And before we get into the meat of the video, we wanted to let you guys know that we have recently launched our own community on Discord. If you wish to join our community, please feel free to check it out by clicking the link in the description below. Also consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell to be the first to see our weekly content that comes out every Friday. With that out of the way, let's jump into Withstand Survival. So again, like we said in our intro, Withstand Survival is an upcoming survival game, and even though it is very much still in its early access state, we think it's a game to keep an eye on. So far, the game's creator has taken advice from players and implemented changes to better the overall experience of the title.
Let's dive in and look at some of the changes we've found since our first look at Withstand Survival. First off, we noticed that upon starting a new game, our previous saves were missing. Not a big deal considering the original state of the game was very lacking, but could become an issue for concern in future and larger builds of this title. With that being said, upon starting a new game, we did notice that the intro sequence to this title was missing. We restarted it multiple times, but it looks like it was removed. This was probably due to the poor voice acting we talked about in our last video. Remappable buttons and limited controller support have found their way into this small title as well. Let's move on to the map. The original starting map felt very limited in its physical points of interest. While this has not changed too much, there have been some additions to the current map, and it looks like it's slowly becoming more populated. Some new areas to note include new enemy camps, abandoned towns, mansions, the old marina, and many more. Speaking of the old marina, here you will be able to find our first friendly NPC. Currently, this NPC is just a static character, but we do have word from the developer that he's currently working on dialogue and quests to be associated with this character. Most of the current POIs have been given a slight facelift with more random junk scattered about. While this does help with immersion, it does little for your character. Vending machines have also been added to Withstand Survival, offering different seeds and other purchasable goods that will help you in your adventure. Money can be found by looting the corpses of hostile NPCs and occasionally in lootable boxes. You also find more roaming enemies out in the world, such as zombies and the newly added mutated giant crab. The zombies have been updated as well and are much faster than the last time we played. Once they notice the player, they will immediately sprint towards the character in a frenzy, trying to take you down. These updated zombies are much more of a threat than they were before. While we did not find them to be very tough last time, they did provide much more of a challenge during this playthrough. You will also notice that the militarized force has increased in numbers, and their quick aim will make it more difficult, giving them the upper hand. We found it best when dealing with these foes to quietly make our way through their compounds, avoiding their line of sight if possible. These hostile NPCs also have some small voice dialogue, but again, it's very limited.
While combat is more difficult in nature, the resource gathering has been overhauled exponentially from where it was before. Before, it was almost impossible to survive just based on how quickly your hunger and thirst meter fell. This has been greatly improved upon, giving you more time in between each meal. That being said, it is much easier to find food and drink items, but these will only provide you with a small amount of nutrients. You will need to cook the ingredients scattered around the world to really get a sustainable meal. A backpack has been added to the game as well. That will increase your inventory size and will give you more time before you need to return home to stow away your collected resources. In our last video, we complained about the lack of wildlife, and this is still an issue. While we were able to find more animals, they seem to be pocketed in specific areas instead of spawning naturally. We did find a lack of good resource spawning our last time around, and while this has been worked on, it's still an issue. Too many times we cleared out a POI infested with hostiles only to be rewarded with next to nothing. The craftable ladders have been added to the game, but only really give you a reason to backtrack upon finding them. Using basic resources, you can build a ladder that will give you access to a previously unreachable area, often ending in a small loot cache. Driving still feels very stiff, and when playing with a controller, the camera is inverted, forcing us to switch back and forth from controller to keyboard. While we had some issues with this, others may not. Probably our biggest complaint is the lack of gas that you will need for the vehicles upon starting. While it's true, with most survival games, the longer you play, the easier it tends to be. Upon starting Withstand Survival, you will be heavily dependent on your vehicle, especially considering the long treks in between POIs. That being said, your one and only vehicle the game currently offers is a gas guzzler, and without proper means to quickly replenish your gasoline supply, you will find yourself very slowly legging your way back to an area that can respawn your vehicle. But upon doing so, will only have a little less than a quarter tank of gas. This small supply will only push you a few hundred meters. In most survival games, this would not be an issue. However, with the current state of the game, it's something that needs to be looked into.
Moving on, in our last video we did talk about the current state of quest markers. These markers have been updated and are currently working properly, but it looks like it just drives you through small tutorials helping you familiarize yourself with the basic mechanics of the game. So far it's been only a little over a month since this title has made its way to early access, and while we do think the developer's done a great job with what he still has a good way to go. He has done some work with updating and optimization, decreasing the load-in time. Player footsteps have been updated as well, sounding more realistic, and you no longer sound like you're carrying a ton of bricks when you jump. And music tracks can now be heard throughout the world rather than just in close proximity to enemies. Here are some of the things that are currently being worked on but have yet to make their way into the game. The campfire. Used for cooking food, this will be the earliest way to cook food once it's brought into the game, only offering you 4 recipes, pushing you to craft something better to prepare your meals. A craftable tent will also be making its way into the game. Once crafted, you can set up camp and sleep for the night, allowing you to recharge your in-game health. A day-night cycle has yet to be added to the game, but we are sure it'll be making its way soon. Some new items have also been added. These items can be sold for cash, however, unless the developer adds a way to sell to vending machines, then a new NPC merchant might be making its way soon as well. Also, new player death animations have made their way into the game. However, upon dying in an enemy encampment, all enemies respawn, but you lose any ammo or resources that you used prior to dying. This can make the game overly difficult and needs to be updated. Currently, this game is single player, but the developer has mentioned that co-op will be a future project, so we have that to look forward to. We are still waiting for a real quest line to take you through the story of Withstand. We know that this will be a future update once most of the gameplay mechanics have been hammered out.
Hey guys, this is all the update news we currently have for Withstand Survival. We may wait a little longer this next time around for another update video, but we will keep a close eye on it to see how this game pans out. Now we want to know, have you played Withstand Survival? What do you think of the current state of this title? Let us know down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video or thought it was informational, please don't forget to hit that like button as it helps us grow and reach a broader audience, and we really do appreciate it. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook by clicking in the links in the description below.
Until next time, this is Obi.
This is Sobi.
Signing out.
See you guys next time.